Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to XDefiant. Just a couple of days ago, we did a video talking about the XDefiant drama, where the game itself has been delayed and delayed and delayed, and apparently the reason behind that, according to a number of industry insiders, is because they're continuously trying to chase Call of Duty and make the game as much like Call of Duty as possible. This, with a number of other issues, have caused the game to continue to be delayed until Mark Rubin came out and said that that's simply not true. They're not trying to chase COD or anything like that. They're having some technical issues with the game, and apparently we're going to be getting an update soon about the release of the title, which sounded pretty interesting. Well, then today, the plot thickens a little bit because Tom Henderson is back with another article over on his website, Insider Gaming, titled Behind XDefiant's Toxic Work Culture, Crunch, and Years of Delays. Now, I'll put a link to the article down there in the description, but allow me to summarize it here in this video for you guys. XDefiant, as we know, has missed dozens of internal deadlines and public deadlines over the course of the past couple of years. XDefiant's shortcomings stem from several executives and directors on the project that are internally being referred to as the Boys Club by a large majority of the XDefiant team. Now, according to Tom Henderson's article, again, link to that down there in the description, this group, the Boys Club in the XDefiant team, has been the cause of many missed deadlines, crunch, and a toxic work environment, and multiple people leaving the project. Now, despite the name of Boys Club, this is actually a group of developers, both male and female, working on XDefiant that basically call all the shots, and apparently they've been the cause of a lot of the delays and a lot of the strife that XDefiant has gone through. Apparently, back in the day when they decided to drop the Tom Clancy moniker from the XDefiant name, this Boys Club at the studio then had more creative freedom. They didn't have to call it Tom Clancy's XDefiant anymore, it was just XDefiant that gave them more freedom, and apparently, reportedly, they started making a number of changes. Despite a bunch of warnings from their fellow staff members, they decided to add a bunch of extra things to the game, which has caused more than 2 extra years of development to be added to XDefiant, and as of right now, we still don't have an official release date for the game. According to the article itself, here we see the issue with the Boys Club isn't that it's managers or directors telling developers what to do, after all, that's their job, but it's the lack of work ethic, unpleasant behavior, and the egos from these individuals that have created a really unhealthy place to work, said sources. One member has no design experience or people experience and has been given directorial powers because of personal friendships, said one source. It means that developers are left with responsibilities beyond their original job descriptions, told to work tedious hours of overtime to complete tasks, and are often shrugged aside when suggestions don't align with the views of the higher-ups. There have been many instances where people have cried, had mental breakdowns, or stopped caring about their well-being because of the toxic environment fostered by the club, it was said. The Boys Club is a close group of protected individuals who think they are better than everyone else and do as they please without any repercussions, said one developer working on the project. Man, this is some straight up, like, so I've been a YouTuber for a long time, but I have had several jobs out there in the real world. This does sound like virtually every job I've been at. Like when I was unloading trucks at Walmart, you could argue there was a Boys Club at the Walmart, man. All we had to do was unload trucks and stock coolers and stuff like that. But even then, there was like a hierarchy there where people kind of thought they were better. You had to answer to these people. You had to be on this person's good side. Otherwise, other things would happen. I hate that shit, man. This is why I'm happy I can do YouTube. I do not like working with other people, and just like everything about this sounds ridiculously frustrating. But continuing on here, they start talking about the netcode over at XDefiant because reportedly that's one of the biggest issues with the game. So let's go ahead and check that out next. As of late 2023, the XDefiant team has been facing a huge hurdle with the game's netcode. As Mark Rubin has already outlined, the game has had significant issues and needed fixing. Ironically, though, this has been a known issue for years, said people working on the project, and could have been avoided if leadership had listened to the rest of the team. But as these suggestions didn't come from within their own bubble, or should we say the club, the advice was always ignored. There have been countless occasions where different teams would advise the Boys Club, for good reason, about making certain choices and decisions with months/years notice in order to avoid issues down the road, said one developer when asked about the game's netcode issues. The article then goes on to say that the netcode continues to actually be the biggest problem so far with XDefiant. I'm sure you guys remember it. When we had those public playtests, every single one of them, the netcode was always really the biggest issue. Like bullet registration didn't really feel good. You felt like you were being shot around corners. You're shooting at somebody, your bullets just aren't hitting. Like everything about it just kind of felt janky. You know what I mean? And according to the article, that's apparently the biggest issue with the game still, because apparently there was an internal playtest this past weekend. So we had those playtests like like summer of last year. Well, apparently this past weekend, they had an internal playtest and a bunch of people were playing it, and 5 of those people decided to speak to Insider Gaming about their experiences. And from what they say, the hit detection is still terrible and it still felt off, though apparently the game also did not have any crashing issues, so I suppose that's a good thing. But if you go from what we had last summer with the public playtest all the way up until this past weekend, apparently the hit detection still has not been adjusted. That's pretty crazy to me. It has been said that the cause of the netcode issue stems from the significant changes that this quote-unquote boys club decided to make after XDefiant dropped the Tom Clancy name from the project. With the Tom Clancy name gone, they then decided to add a bunch of new factions, a bunch of new maps, and a bunch of new features that needed to be built from scratch, but corners were cut and they reused a bunch of assets, and reportedly that has resulted in huge technical issues that members of the XDefiant team think could have been avoided. But here we are. They're dealing with the issues and they're trying their best to make it so those issues go away, but apparently, again, this all could have been avoided according to some of these people who are talking to Tom Henderson over on Insider Gaming. Continuing on here, let's talk about the chasing Call of Duty aspect of this entire situation, because as a COD channel, I'm sure that is what the vast majority of you guys are interested in. I suppose also you're interested in the development of XDefiant, most importantly, when the games ever gonna freaking come out, but the COD aspect of it is definitely something that's interesting. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this excerpt from the article itself. While there's no question that a new first-person shooter should take inspiration from other popular titles in the market, sources who spoke to Insider Gaming said that it has become evident really quickly that Call of Duty was the only title that leadership was interested in. Sources said that almost every creative decision for the best part of 2 years quickly ended with the same rhetorical question: what would Call of Duty do? Apparently, tons of features have been discussed for XDefiant, and they've also been worked on for XDefiant, but a lot of them have been scrapped because of this boys club, these developers that are kind of like the higher-ups over at XDefiant. Certain developers will come up with an idea or a feature, and they'll present it to the boys club, and then the boys club will request changes to make those features more like COD, and this has resulted in tons of these features either being delayed or eventually scrapped altogether, which is yet another reason why it's taken so long for XDefiant to come out. According to the article, developers are getting increasingly frustrated with the management and the handling of the project, causing a lot of strife within the team itself, and even leading to some developers leaving the company outright. But one quote from the Call of Duty section of the article that I just can't get over is going to be this right here. But hey, at least mentioning no skill-based matchmaking gets cheap brownie points, right? Said one developer to Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming. So basically, they've had all of these issues so far with XDefiant, and the developers like, hey, at least we don't have skill-based matchmaking though, right? Like, they understand it's a big selling point for the game, but for them, as the people that are actually working on it, they're like, yeah, we don't have skill-based matchmaking, but there's a whole bunch of other shit going on over here in the background that's really making this game frustrating to develop, and it's making it even harder to actually get the game shipped. I mean, apparently there is a lot of internal strife and a bunch of issues behind the scenes happening in XDefiant, though honestly, this is something that happens a lot within the games industry. I'm not discrediting or excusing any of it. I'm just saying this is something that happens a lot. We hear about it all the time within the games industry. There's always so much strife internally when it comes to getting these games shipped. I mean, if you're just an average gamer, you just want to play the game, enjoy the game, and I don't blame you, but for the people that actually want to dive deep into the games industry and really learn about what goes on behind the scenes, it can be fascinating and also a little bit scary to really find out what happens behind closed doors at these studios and how difficult it can be for them all to collectively come together under one unified vision, because at the end of the day, humans are fallible, and we all know what it's like to work in a normal job, right? You got your boss there, but your boss doesn't actually know shit. If your boss actually did know shit about shit, then shit would actually get done. But the thing about that is, your boss has to answer to another boss, and your boss thinks that his boss doesn't know shit about shit, and if he did know shit about shit, then shit would actually start happening, and like, it's this whole thing, man. It really comes down to the fact that like these studios need more structure in some capacity. We do know that behind the scenes, Call of Duty is oftentimes a shit show, but we do know that Activision, no matter what, is gonna pump out that COD title, and regardless of how it happens, they end up getting those games out, often at the expense of the people that are actually making the game. And in fairness, Ubisoft is kind of not doing that with XDefiant. I mean, if they're allowing the game to continuously be delayed and delayed and delayed, then they're not really putting them on too much of a crunch, but apparently there's still a number of issues. And in the article, there were a couple of people that were quoted as to saying they can't wait for the XDefiant saga to end because they're just over it. They don't care about it anymore and they just want to move on to another project. Like, that's not what you want to hear from the people making the game, man. Like, I want XDefiant so badly. I think XDefiant, from what we had from the public playtest and everything, was a fantastic game. It has fantastic bones. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like, but in the article it says that they're working on all these features like a prestige mode and weapon camo challenges and challenges in general, but apparently none of them are even going to be there at launch. They're just trying to get the game out right now and then try to add those Call of Duty-esque features post-launch, but those features themselves aren't really being developed very well because of all the internal strife within the studio. Just like, I hate hearing this stuff, man. Like, I just want the game. I'm sure many of you guys do as well, but apparently things are not going well within the XDefiant team, which is why so many of the developers are anonymously reporting that people like Tom Henderson and his website Insider Gaming to share their stories about the development of the game. So as of right now, Mark Rubin has not commented on the situation. He did say that soon we are going to be getting an update in regards to XDefiant and their plans moving forward, but we're still waiting on that. We're waiting to see how that's going to play out, and as always, I will be here with you guys every step of the way following this story and keeping you guys updated. But man, it just, I don't think we're gonna be getting this game anytime soon, and that freaking sucks because as a Call of Duty fan that wanted to try out this game just for something different, I fell in love during the public playtest, man. It was a lot of fun, and interestingly enough, the COD community actually embraced the game. Like, right now, the videos I make on XDefiant on my Call of Duty channel of 13 years, on average, get more views than my actual Call of Duty channel. Like, COD fans are interested in this game. I am interested in this game. It would be interesting to be able to post both COD and XDefiant on the channel. That would be huge for me. I would love for that to happen, but as of right now, I'm not sure the game's even ever going to release. So again, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. As always, I'll be here with you guys. I'll keep you posted, but for right now, that's it for this video here today. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.